Hi everyone, and you are welcome to this lecture, Python Numbers. In this lecture, we are going to learn about the first available data structure in Python, which is number. I will start this lecture by defining what a number is, then we will see the available number types in Python, we will learn how we can create a number, and we will see some useful functions that usually could be used with numbers, and I will end up this lecture by a quick summary. So let's get started. What's a number? Number is a single item data structure. In other words, we use number to store only one value, one item. And this item should be a numeric value of any type of the types that are supported by Python. In Python, we have 4 number types are supported. These types are Boolean, and Boolean variable could take only 2 values, true or false. When we define a Boolean variable, we use true word or false word. But you have to know that beyond the scene, this value is 1 or 0. It's not the word true or the word false. The second type is integer, and usually integer variable is used to store positive and negative numbers without the decimal point, numbers like 3, -5, 4, and so on. The third type is float, and usually float like integer in which we store positive or negative values, but if you want to add decimal point, float is the correct data type for that. The last supported type is complex, and usually a complex number is divided into 2 parts, real and imaginary, and each part of this number could be an integer or a float. For example, we write a plus jp, so a could be integer or float, p could be integer or float. Most often, we use complex numbers with complex algebra, not in software engineering. Therefore, in our future lecture, you are not going to see complex number in any of our examples. Now let's move to PyCharm IDE and see how we can deal with these number types. Now let's see how we can create numbers in Python. First of all, you have to define a variable and give this variable a name. This name should be a valid name, and we already learned before how we can define a valid name. So for example, I will say number equal 2. Now, the number that I will use will determine the type of that variable number. For example, if I want to define a Boolean number, I will say number equal to true. Now if I print this number, as you can see here, we have true. To check what is the type of this number, I will print type of number. Type, it's a function available in Python and will show you what is the type of the variable that you pass to this function. If I run, as you can see, the variable value is true, but the variable type is Boolean. If I replace true by false, run again, as you see here, the value is false, but the type also is Boolean. So in this way, we create a Boolean variable. Now let's see how we can create an integer. It's quite easy. Just replace false by an integer value. So for example, 4, it's an integer value. Run. So I print the number, which is 4, and its type now becomes integer. To define a float number, just put a decimal point. So 4.5, for example, is a float number. Run. 4.5, and as you see here, the type is float. Now, to create a complex number, I'm going to use complex keyword, as you see here, and I have to pass 2 values because I mentioned before that it has 2 parts. It has real part and imaginary part. So I will put 10, 4 for example. If I run now, as you see, 10 plus 4j is a complex number and it's from the type complex. Till now, we see how we can create a number of any one of the 4 available number types in Python. Now let's see some useful functions that usually could be used with numbers. The first function I want to share with you is min function. Let's say you want to calculate the minimum number between a collection of numbers. In order to do that, you have to use min function. For example, a equal to min, I will say 1, 2, 3, and then I will print a. I will run. As you see, I got here 1. Why 1? Because 1 is the minimum number between this collection of numbers. You can put 4, 5, or any number of numbers you want to calculate the minimum for. Run. I get also 1. Like min function, we have another function that calculates the maximum value, and this function is max. So simply if I just replace min by max and then run, As you can see, I got 5 here, and 5 is the maximum value between this collection of numbers. And again, you can use any number of numbers here to calculate the maximum value for. In this collection, the maximum value is 8. The last function I want to share with you is round function. And round is a function, return the rounded value of the number that you pass to this function. So for example, if I say a equal to round 5.6 and then print a, run. As you see, I got 6. Why? Because 6 is the rounded value of 5.6. But if I replace 6 by 4, and then run, I will get 5, because if I round 5.4 in mathematics, I will get 5. And that's all for this lecture. Now, my friend, let's recap what we have learned in this lecture. First of all, we have defined what a number is, and we see that number is a single item data structure which we use mainly to store numeric values. In Python, there are 4 supported number types. We have Boolean, integer, float, and complex. Finally, please, I want you to refer to Python number appendix in order to find the summary of functions that have been shown in this lecture. Also, please refer to Python numbers challenges, in which you will find some challenges to practice what you have learned in this lecture. Thank you very much for your time, and if you are available, join me in the next lecture.